Hey, thanks for joining me today on Just Cook with Michael. Today, after watching this video, you will know how to do the classic dish, flan. Flan is a custard seen in Portugal and throughout Europe. It's a very common custard made with caramelized sugar. The thing that sets flan apart from something like creme brulee is the caramelized sugar is actually put in the ramekin before you add in your custard. We're gonna make a caramelized sugar, line the ramekin with that. That's gonna turn hard, like hard candy, but then the custard's gonna be over that. It bakes, and then when you invert it onto your serving dish, the flan pops out and it's absolutely delicious. Unlike the creme brulee, which is made with just egg yolks, it is sprinkled at the end with sugar on top, and usually either the broiler or with a blowtorch, the sugar is caramelized on top. A key thing to remember with all custards is they set at 175 degrees Fahrenheit. Use a digital thermometer or any good thermometer. Today on this dish, I'm going to add in some port wine into the caramel sauce. You could skip the addition of port wine if you don't want any alcohol at all, or you could add something like an amaretto, or you could add Grand Marnier. Those are both good substitutes. So first we're going to make the caramelized sugar, then we're going to line our ramekins. Then I'm going to make the custard, which is mainly the half and half in sugar, and that is going to be poured into the ramekins. When I fill the ramekins with custard, I'm going to turn this into a bain-marie, so it's going to have some water in here, maybe about an inch of water, and that kind of tempers the heat. Water keeps the flan or the ramekins from getting hot spots and kind of creates an even heat around all the ramekins. So let's get to it. Let's make this Portuguese flan with a port wine caramelized sugar. So the ingredients for today's dish are half and half. I'm gonna have some sugar that's going to be used to make the caramel sauce, and some sugar that's going to be used to sweeten the half and half vanilla, and few drops of lemon juice to add into the caramelized sugar. What that does is it helps prevent the sugar from crystallizing. It's pretty rare, but when you're heating up sugar, every once in a while, if you get a stray grain of a crystal of sugar on the side of the pan, kind of causes a chain reaction that could cause the sugar to crystallize. And a little bit of acidity, just a few drops, and it could even be a few drops of like a distilled white wine vinegar. You're not going to taste it in there because it's so little. It helps prevent any possible crystallization. Okay, first thing we're going to do is make our caramelized sugar. You want a pan that has a nice thick bottom on it for even heating. We're going to take our sugar. I'm making a double batch here. Taking my sugar, my water. You could do this without the addition of water. Sometimes it just helps to make the process a little slower and a little more even cooking. But basically, all that water I just put in there, about 2 tablespoons, it's just going to evaporate out as the sugar boils. Just a little bit of lemon juice. That's it. We'll put this over the stove and start melting the sugar until it starts to turn into an amber color, and that is usually between 335 degrees Fahrenheit to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. You definitely don't want to get over 355 because then you start to get into burnt sugar flavor. I'm going to put this on the stove and start warming up. So now we are cracking the eggs using the whole egg. If you're going to make this flan in one big serving dish, which you can make this in one big ramekin or one big casserole dish, I suggest adding one more egg to the mix, just because sometimes when it's a big massive flan, it's a little harder to invert onto a plate, so you want it to be a little firmer. We'll whisk our eggs and sugar together first. You're not trying to get air into this, you're just trying to incorporate all the sugar and egg together in one harmonious mix, sort of dissolving the sugar crystals in there. And now I'll mix in the half and half. If you don't have half and half, just make up proportions of milk and heavy cream together, and that makes half and half, or close enough. Again, I am making a double batch. Now I'll add in just a little bit of salt, helps bring out some of the flavors. Now we're going to mix in the vanilla. Now the custard's ready to go. You don't have to refrigerate it if you're going to be heating it up within a half hour anyway. In fact, it's probably better that it gets a little chill off of it. Now we're starting to heat up our mixture of granulated sugar, water, and a dash of lemon juice. Turn on the flame there. Okay, you don't have to mess with this too much. You can stir it up just a little bit. You want to be careful not to get any crystals of sugar, any of the granulated pieces of sugar on the side of the pot. The heat is a low to medium flame. I forgot to put in the port, so you could add in the port when I added in the lemon juice. Again, I'm just going to check. I know it's nowhere near ready, but just to check to give you an idea of the temperature. Sugar is probably one of the most dangerous things in the kitchen. Molten sugar and hot oil are the things you do not want to mess around with. Have a lot of respect for them. Don't have kids around when you're working with it. So this is at 220 degrees. We want to get it between 335 and 350. And when I say 350, that means pulling it off at 345. If you don't have a thermometer, you want to go slowly, and when it starts to get to that amber stage, maybe have like a little ramekin or a little bowl of some water and drip a few drops of the sugar mixture when you think it's done into that bowl of water, and it'll harden up right away like rock candy, and then you can taste it to see if it should get hard, and it should taste like caramel flavor. If it's still soft, it's still at the softball stage, and even if it's hard but it's crystal clear, it hasn't started caramelizing enough. We are at 245, so we have about 100 degrees to go. And as soon as this is done, you want to be ready to fill up your ramekins, about 2 to 3 tablespoons in each ramekin, because it'll start to set and get hard pretty quickly. So it's not something you want to cool off. You want to have your ramekins ready to go. Put a few drops in this little dish of water just to show you what I'm talking about. 265. Definitely when it gets to 300 degrees, turn down your heat and keep a close eye on it. Here is that piece of sugar I dropped into water. This was only a couple seconds. You can see it's soft, it's not setting up hard, and it's still very clear. That has a little bit of color, but a little bit of that color is from the port wine. That really hasn't caramelized yet at all. It won't start caramelizing until you get at least to about 325. Okay, 340. I definitely want to pull it off by 345. It looks like we're there. So there, I pulled it off the flame. I'll just show you the difference of when I put this in cold water again. Right away, it's bubbling in there. Let that cool off for maybe 5 minutes. A lot of times making this sugar is a messy process, cleaning the dishes, but I usually find just letting them soak. Let them soak long enough, the sugar dissolves right off. Don't try to scrub it off yourself. I already knew it was at the caramelization stage just by the temperature, but this is the piece of sugar I put in there when it was at about 335. And you can see it definitely has an amber color. It's hard. So that's, if you don't have a thermometer, that's kind of what you want. You definitely want a dark yellow color, and it shouldn't be soft. I mean, I could bend this a little bit because it's above room temperature right now, but as you can tell from the sound, it's still hard. About 2.5 to 3 tablespoons per ramekin. Swirl them up the sides a little bit, maybe about halfway up the sides. Being very careful because this is still very hot. And now my oven is preheated. I'll fill up the actual ramekins. Now I'm going to add the water to the bain-marie. I put about 2 cups of water there. I'll put it in the oven and add about another 2 cups of water once I put it in the oven, because or else it could get kind of precarious having it filled up all the way with water. But you want it to go up anywhere from a 1/2 inch to 1 inch up the sides. So they took a little bit longer to cook than I expected. You can see they're kind of jiggly there. They still have a wobble, and that's what's kind of sometimes tough about custards, is because to me they often look underdone. It still could go a little bit more. I'm going to put these back in there. It's right at low 160s. Okay, it's been 1 hour and 5 minutes. I'll let them cool off at room temperature, probably for about 10 to 20 minutes, just because I don't want to put them piping hot in the refrigerator, because it'll drop the temperature of my entire refrigerator. And then once they get down to room temperature, then I will move them into the refrigerator and let them chill 3 hours. Again, you could use your thermometer for this, but you want them to get down to at least like 50 degrees before you try to invert them out of their molds. And don't invert the flan until you're ready to serve and until it's cold, because this is a cold custard dish. That was pretty simple. These came out great. Now you can make one of the classic desserts from Portugal and really from around the world. Flan from Japan, Spain, France, everybody, India, everybody has their different version of flan. Thanks for joining me today. Now go cook for someone you love. And if you like these videos, don't forget to subscribe. Also, if you want to see more videos on Portuguese recipes, I do have a playlist on my channel.